First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today on such short notice, a holiday weekend. All my friends, all my family, some clients of mine are here. I truly appreciate it, and I know Glenn does as well. If anybody knows us personally, we are a real team, Glenn and I. We do everything together. You may pass by our home, see us doing landscaping, chopping trees, cutting grass, building birdhouses, you name it, we do it. He's a team player. He loves Staten Island, as I do. And I'd like to welcome Glenn. Come stand with here. Our next assembly member, my husband.
I think she's got to get used to this, huh? She was in Albany with me this week, and I have to tell you, I think she was more comfortable up there running around with these senators and assembly people than I was, right? So I want to personally thank my wife Sabrina for supporting me. This was a long, thoughtful process. When I started to think about running for assembly again, I decided that our first thing that we would do is discuss this with my wife and family, because this is a very serious commitment. And personally, I didn't like what was going on here in Staten Island, and I thought that, as I learned when I was a young kid, if you don't really like something, you ought to stand up and try to change it. So that's why I'm here. And I certainly appreciate your support. I'm running for New York State Assembly in the 62nd District. So your presence here means a lot to me, and I have to tell you, being a candidate before, being around elected officials, you are truly inspiring to me. You get me motivated, and we're going to talk individually tonight about what your issues are, what your concerns are, and how I'm going to help change that and keep Staten Island safe and keep it a great place. Because as my wife said, I really love Staten Island. I don't know if there's anybody that loves Staten Island more than me. Maybe Jim.
I do.
All right. And my sister. So yeah. I started my beginnings in public service at 20 years old. I was fortunate enough to become a police officer. I moved up through the ranks and was promoted to detective. I worked in the narcotics division for a little bit. I was an undercover. I personally made over 500 buys and busts on street level operations. I bought heroin, I bought cocaine, I bought pills, I bought marijuana. And at the end of the day, those people would be arrested. So through our efforts and through my team's effort, we were able to do that, well over 500 buy and bust operations. But then I got sent into what's called the major case team, where I was an undercover. My name, some of you don't know this, but my name was taken off the rolls of the police department. I had an undercover apartment. I purchased kilos of cocaine, bundles of heroin, and I sent people away for long, long periods of time based upon my testimony, the evidence that I gathered, and so on and so forth. So that was quite a rewarding place to be for me, because I felt like I was really doing something good for my community. And then I moved on to other areas and was promoted to detective. I was here in Staten Island as the youth officer and the military affairs liaison, so I was very friendly with the Navy families that were coming here. I remember the home court was here for a while. I had the largest youth council in the history of the New York City Police Department, with 1,200 kids from the 120 Precinct, Richard Bruno's old command. And I then went into the detective squad, where I investigated all major crime issues here on Staten Island and 122 Precinct. I then was asked to work for the Deputy Commissioner of the NYPD. First Deputy Commissioner is the second in charge of the police department. He put me in charge of disciplinary matters, so I was the person to fire police officers if they deserved it at one point in my career. Then I was transferred to the Chief Detective's office, where I served as the confidential aide to the Chief Detectives. From there, I was promoted to first grade detective. I was the youngest first grade detective, I believe, in the history of the police department. When I retired, there was 164 of us out of 40,000 members. So it's a very prestigious rank. I was honored. I loved my career in the police department. I thank God every night that I had that experience. I really do. I always do that, because I think some of my experiences in life have brought me to be standing here before you. When I was in finishing up my career in the police department, I was accepted to New York Law School. They transferred me to the legal bureau because they thought that would be a place where I would learn the law and policing. And so I served there for my last 4 years. I graduated New York Law School. I passed that New York bar examination, the toughest, second toughest, I think, Ralph, in the country. You know, when you enter an exam for 2 days and you know that 60% of you will fail, that's not a fun time. But I was able to pass that too. And then I started working for Senator Andrew Lanza. In the midst of it all, you know, I'm of counsel to Senator Lanza, and we're working on some great bills, some great things that are protecting our community. And I'll talk more about that individually. I think it's important that you know that, though. But I say all these things not to brag about myself, my career, my credentials, but to tell you that all of those experiences have brought me to where I am today. To be able to stand up in front of you and say that I'm willing and I want to do this, and I want to do what's right for my community. And I don't think there's anybody with my qualifications that's running against me in this district. And so, you know, again, I thank you for your presence here tonight. I know that, you know, in this kind of race and not even having a Democrat involved yet, it's going to be very costly. For those of you who remember, I ran for state assembly in 1998. I ran against a 16-year incumbent and came really, really close to beating that guy. So I know what it's like to campaign. I know what it's like to go door to door. I know what it's like to listen to my community and to be able to represent them. And so on day one, on January 3rd, when I get sworn in to office, and my wife is there holding the Bible, and the governor is swearing me in, I will be ready the next week to start active legislation, to start lawsuits, because I know how to do those things. And I think that that's what's important about my background, is that I am an attorney. I do understand what it's like to legislate law. I do understand what it's like to be on both sides of the aisle and work with people. And so I'm just thankful that you're all here again, and I appreciate your presence. So I hope I'll do the right thing for you, and I'll tell you this, I'm going to work very hard for everyone here. And whether you live in my district or not, a lot of things that we're going to do are going to impact the entire borough of Staten Island. I promise you that. So thank you so much for your presence. I appreciate you.